Okay, we are live.
We are
Hello,
live.
hello. Yes,
Hello,
I
hello.
think
I
we're
love,
live.
I love this. It's been a while since I've been on with StreamYard talking to someone, so I really love it. Thank you, Amy.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to welcome you and to the audience. So, who I have here, have the pleasure, is Rebecca Steele from all the way from Australia, and she is an intervention coach. So, she's going to talk to us a little bit about what she does and what does that mean by an intervention coach. And today we're going to be talking about emotional blockages. So, welcome, Rebecca. Why don't you start? Tell us a little bit about you and what does it mean by intervention coach?
Well, gosh, a little bit about me, and I will condense it into as short as possible. Um, I'm a curious person. I'm a curious person. I love to explore, and I just find um, that life has been like being on your surfboard, being on a surfboard. I've been learning to surf the waves, so that is, in a nutshell, a little bit about me. In that I've grown up in different environments and lived through different situations and had different experiences and different cultures. And, I've had the, privilege of being with people who have gone through their own experiences,
Mm,
and it allowed me to step back and look at, okay, this is my experience and that is their experience, and
mm,
we're looking at the same situation.
mm,
um, and uh, and I got to realize that even though in one way we might see a situation as the same, I'll talk about, I'll dive right in and talk about the one thing that is the kind of the big elephant in the room right now, which is grief, right?
mm,
And people say know about grief in a lot of ways if they've lost somebody close to them, uh, or out of a situation, or out of an experience that they found was so helpful for them, and now they're no longer in it. And
mm,
it that is also causes grief and sadness, and
mm,
the emotions of self-pity and those things. And it's like I got to see that we might all be experiencing either one of those emotions. And I find that I could use my skill and my talent of recognizing that there is a bridge, a channel
mm,
between the thinking and the wisdom of everybody's experience. Um,
mm.
and I call that intervention. You know, um, we've heard of medical interventions, you
Yes.
know, we emotional interventions, there mental interventions, physical interventions, and I like to look at it from an energy perspective. And tell me if I'm speaking the same language that you're understanding. I see you nodding your head, so I think
Yeah,
we're all good
absolutely.
on that. Yeah,
We're all
yeah,
good. Yes. Yeah, I
yeah,
talk about a
yeah,
lot about, energy and frequency. So absolutely, I'm totally in alignment with what you're talking about here. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so, thank you. And so, with that, we could dive right in to this
Yeah.
topic of emotional stagnation, and you know, and stop me if I let me know if there are questions, because I just find that I can be a roller coaster with ideas and thoughts and experiences, and go off on, into what people call rabbit warrens and rabbit holes, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so, where shall we start?
sure,
would you like to start? Because we could put some
sure.
structure to this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So today, just to give people a context, is that we're going to be talking about emotional stagnation as well as emotional blockages, and how
Mm,
do those emotions blockages actually affect us, not only on a personal level, but as well as in their professional life, right?
mhm.
So to start off, I would like to talk a little bit about what are emotional blockages or stagnation. You want to talk a
Okay.
little bit about that? Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I will speak from my experience of that,
Okay.
because I think that is always the best, best place to kind of begin and stand in to share,
Mm.
really.
Yeah.
And I will talk about my recent experience of the whole, um, you know, the last 2 years of me
Mm.
being in a situation where, you know, there were blocks, there were stagnations to my
Yeah.
emotions. It was definitely a roller coaster. Um,
Yeah.
I left with my husband, Nick. We left the UK where we had been for many, many years, and, Europe where we had been for many, many years. Returned to Australia I left Australia when I was in my 20s, so I'm now I just entered my 60s, so you can imagine it was like from northern to southern hemisphere, and
Wow.
seeing that, oh, not much has changed from when I left,
Oh,
right?
okay. Okay. That's
In
interesting.
terms of people, how and cultures.
Mm.
However, and maybe it's evolved
Mm-hmm.
in a certain way. But what I understood in that process was the process of me getting here, and
Mm.
that process went through um, doubt,
Yeah.
went through uh, this feeling of being so enclosed and trapped, really,
Mm.
in and realizing that understanding of the emotion of feeling trapped, right,
Mm.
in a situation. I remember at the beginning of our show, I spoke about being curious and being an
Mm.
explorer. So I need space, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I and I I found that um, the environment shaped how I was feeling,
Yeah.
and I was using my logic to tell myself, oh, it's all right. Tomorrow, it's a good day. Think with gratitude and all of
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And I am one for gratitude.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
we are on the same page with that.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yes.
However, to be grateful when you feel
Mm.
overwhelmed with
Mm-hmm.
an emotion of
Mm.
feeling and trapped of powerlessness is that
Mm-hmm.
word, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
You
Yeah.
think, in what way did why do I feel this? I haven't felt this
Mm-hmm.
before, or
Mm.
in this manner. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was like a block that
Mm-hmm.
then, if because I was thinking about how to get
Yeah.
out of it, you
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
it felt like it creates a feeling of, I'm feeling exhausted. I'm feeling so
Mm.
tired.
Okay. And how long, just to give people a contact, like how long have you been feeling this way, Rebecca?
So I started to feel this way um, after I was doing live similar to what you're doing,
Yeah.
and the universe stopped me and
Mm-hmm.
said, with an illness that
Mm.
that I thought, okay, I've got my tools, I know what to do. And what was interesting was this happened in November 2019,
Okay.
2019, right?
2019.
And I got back on track. And in
Mm-hmm.
2020, I went down
Mm-hmm.
again.
Yeah.
Again, being shaped by my environment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where everyone knows everything went a bit pear-shaped around the world.
Yeah.
And it was not only my feelings. I am an empath as well, so I tend
Mm-hmm.
to feel other people's emotions, feelings, and that sort of fed in with compassion, and all this thing of nobody understands this, so it's okay for me not to understand. And it went through, you know uh,
Yeah.
a roller
Emotional roller
coaster of feel.
coaster. Yeah.
Right.
That's
and
yeah. That's
and
what
you
we
know
call
you,
it. Yeah.
you and the thing is that I'm a great believer in exercise and movement, whether you
Yes.
dance or
Yeah.
to
Movement of
shift
the
the
energy.
energy,
Yeah.
movement, yoga, qigong, anything.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people run. My
Yeah.
husband runs, and he's a runner, and it's like fast walking, go out, nature, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
uh, it creates these up and down periods.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Mm-hmm.
the thing is that whilst you're doing that,
Mm-hmm.
it's about bringing that gratitude of being alive back into your body. But I was the environment was so new, with what was going on, that to bring it back into my body, it was quickly taken out again.
Mm.
That
Yeah.
feeling of, oh, okay, everything is good now. So those endorphins and all of those things you would get from movement and all of that, suddenly you are greeted with a cold shower of some news or something, and
Mm-hmm.
you thought, oh, so it creates a feeling of apathy. That's where,
Mm.
and that is stagnation. This apathy of, okay, it's been many weeks now,
Yeah.
quite a few months. Then the months turned into a year.
Yeah.
And it was this feeling of finding that, the will, the focus
Yes.
on, just the topic of this group.
Mm-hmm.
The where is the wealth in all of this?
Mm.
Where is the mindset in all of
Mm-hmm.
this? What can I do,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
it was like, what can I do? And Amy, the biggest thing that came to me was, there's nothing to do, but there is a lot to being. Who am I being? And I
Yeah.
thought, well, I'm being grateful, and I'm being hopeful, and I'm being, you know. But that
Yeah.
wasn't what I was. It was the internal work. There was a lot of internal
Absolutely.
work, and
Absolutely, absolutely. When you talk
yeah,
about the environment and past 2 years, I think everybody, doesn't matter where in the world, everybody was always all experiencing the same thing that you're referring to, like the outside environment, right? And if we cannot change the outside, right, the environment, then we can only go within, right? And that's the
yes,
beingness part that you mentioned. Yeah, I love that
yeah,
when you said about the beingness part. Yeah.
yeah. And this being, for people who are action takers,
Mm.
is, it's like, if you imagine that in our life we were going, you know 70 kilometers an hour, 80
Yep.
kilometers an hour. We're in
Yep.
the fast lane. We know where we're going. We know where we want to get to.
Yep.
We look at the time. We say, okay, we're going to get there. But then you see this fog,
Mm.
and you have to slow down, and then
Mhm.
you slow down to a crawl and to a stop, and it's like you you're in your car and you just have to sit still. So you switch on the radio, what's going on, and all of that, it then ends up being noise, right?
Mm.
Noise,
Mm.
and it's like come back in, come back in. And
Yeah.
it's a training that I felt that, and I feel even now today, for a lot of people, it's finding that time, that those pauses in the day to just be, even
Yes.
when there is flow, right?
Mm.
uh,
Mm.
Even when there is flow. And Amy, I would like to share something that I heard from someone I've been following for a while. His name is Matthias de Stefano, and a lot of people
Oh my
might know him
God.
from
Yes.
Gaia.
Yes. From
Yeah,
Gaia. Yeah. Yeah.
from Gaia. And
Yeah.
he was one of the people that I followed in the path of the I am, right,
Mm.
process. And he has,
Mhm.
through his studio, the days, each day had a process, and
Mhm.
it that was my anchor. I would say when I got to Australia, because actually my destination is New Zealand, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we have
I was
been,
gonna share with the audience.
mm,
Yeah. So your final destination, the reason why you moved to Australia is actually to your final destination is actually in New Zealand with your daughter, right?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But
And
you haven't
that,
been able to get there.
yes, and that has been, it's like New Zealand is a small country, and like you understand the havoc from all places, and you
Mhm.
just think, oh, okay. I i i i felt that I wanted to help. I wanted
Mhm.
to help, especially those going through the trauma of feeling mentally
Mm.
and emotionally traumatized through what they were feeling. And I felt again that feeling of powerlessness, because
Yeah.
something was telling me no, right?
Mm. Mhm.
And this is where I understood that there is something going on that is bigger than us. It's bigger than even what we think we know, we think
Yes.
we see and we hear. It is
Yeah.
actually ends up being an illusion, right? It is an
Yeah.
illusion. It's like
Yeah.
you come back to what fuels you. And so Matthias talks about in one of the days of the path I am, um, is that he talks about the bones, right? He talks
Mhm.
about the skeleton, and he goes, normally people think of bones as being, oh, you know, and the skeleton, they look at the skeleton and they think, oh, that means death, right? And
Yeah.
dying. However, he
Mhm.
goes, there is the opposite of that, the living skeleton, the living bones. We are the living structure of life.
Mhm.
And he goes, if you imagine, and I'll share it, I mean, this was so deep and meaningful for me. And he held up his forearm and he goes, imagine that, this part of your arm is May, and
Mhm.
this part of your hand is June, right? And your wrist, your joint, is the bridge to move from
Uh-huh.
May to June, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
if we're thinking, oh, but I like May so much, I really love the
Uh-huh.
weather in May, I just love the colors, I don't want to go to June, I don't want to
Uh-huh.
shift to June, because June, I don't know what's going to happen in June. The weather might be not so good, or whatever. I'm really enjoying May. So they don't let flexibility or adaptability, that joint becomes
Mhm.
very rigid. I will
Mm.
stay where I
Mhm.
am. right?
Mm.
And we know
Mhm.
this so well with frequency and vibration work. When you stay where you are, what happens is as people and the world and your dreams move on to June and July,
Yeah.
you're left behind. You can be left behind, and then eventually the rigidity of any
Mhm.
structure breaks, right?
Mm.
And it
Mhm.
and so I thought that was a great metaphor to how we are moving from out of emotional, what emotional stagnation and
Mhm.
emotional blocks can do for us if we stay so rigid, because it's
Mhm.
known as the safe zone. And you actually had a, a an image on you on in the group of where are you in your comfort zone,
Yeah.
right?
Your
So
growth
you,
zone. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. For
that
sure.
was
And I
so
like.
so amazing. Go
Yeah,
on.
yeah, like for me, that's like a visual, right? To know where you're at. And
Yes.
just to reset a little bit for people that are just joining us, so we have a special guest, Rebecca Steele. She is the intervention coach, and we're talking about emotional stagnation and emotional blockages and how to remove them, right? So it's really evident that everybody, like doesn't matter when where in the world, we all have been through that emotion stagnation and also feeling the blockages, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about how do we actually overcome those or release those, right? That's what we're going to be diving
Mhm.
into. So going back to when you're mentioning about the chart, so that visual really gives you an idea of where you're at and also, what you heading towards. So, and you and I both is always are we're always striving for the growth zone, right? Where it's uncomfortable, but that's where we really stepping into our true self, right? And that's where the emotion of being uncomfortable will come up, right? And no one wants to feel uncomfortable, right? Everybody wants to feel comfort, but in the comfort zone, it's also what I call the danger zone. If you agree, like you're not
Yeah,
growing. It's comfortable, but you're not growing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And it's a bit like the sitting down to a beautiful meal, that you've prepared, or someone has prepared for you, and you sit down and you take a few breaths to pause and enjoy that meal. But there comes a time where you're full, right? And you can't keep eating, even though they say, "Oh, there's more where that came from. Can we put more on your plate?" And sure, I'll eat and eat and eat. And we know what that does.
Yes.
It just, well, yeah, that is a whole nother topic, right?
Yeah, and interesting you say that because that's relating to emotions. A lot of people eat as an emotional release, right? They think they eat
Yeah,
as a way to release their stress, right?
right.
So.
Oh gosh, this is such a huge topic today, where a lot of us are looking at where is the weight. First you feel the emotional burden of that weight, and
Mm-hmm.
through the eating, being around things that give you comfort. And what happens is that it grows into an obsession, and the obsession then feeds into, it's this food that I'm eating, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's actually not, for a lot of people, it's for a lot, I feel maybe that percentage has grown to 80, 85, 90%. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
there's some building work going on above me, so please excuse.
No.
um, the When this happens, it's we have to go to the root, which is the emotional cause. So I know we've only got a short amount of time, but left. I wanted to share with you the tools. You look at how you were saying, how do we get out of this?
Yes, yes.
So
Let's talk about that. How do
um,
we move past that, the stagnation?
right. So I think it's always good to have a coach or a mentor or a guide
Yep.
to, or an accountability buddy someone there to just say, I'm standing right here, I'm right by you,
Mm-hmm.
if not in person, energetically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Energy is the medicine for today and the future, right? We're looking at, so a lot of medicine has moved into that quantum space, and we know about U two,
You,
U squared
yeah,
and quantum, and it's
yeah,
like it's another level of thinking and being and doing and having
yeah.
that we haven't had access to, or access as freely as we do now.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the methods is, as we spoke about earlier, is through exercises like Qigong, Tai
Mm-hmm.
Chi,
Yeah, moving the energy.
movement energy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And people who are Reiki healers, they understand that. And going even to a Qigong class, I tell you, you're just going to enjoy that sort of energy.
Yeah.
So I would say Qigong is
Mm-hmm.
one way of moving the energy, the blockages.
Mm.
Another way is being around nature. Oh, Amy, nature, the trees, nature, the beach, the
Yes.
sand,
Yes.
where you have that opportunity, even if you have to buy a pot plant and stare at a tree, at a shrub,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Yep, yep.
and yeah, and they are so grateful. I mean, you've heard of people talking to their plants. It's good for you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And
They're your accountability partner. Um, the other thing I do is I use biofeedback in my work. So I use biofeedback on myself, using, you take a photograph and you take a voice message, and that voice message tells you where actually, how you're lying to yourself and
mm,
how you are actually on track for something. And the picture, as you know, tells 1,000 words,
yes,
right? And
absolutely.
basically, energy medicine works, and that biofeedback works is it reads the frequency of that picture, bit
Mm,
like somebody has your phone number,
mhm,
right? And they're able to connect it right direct. It's able to go through the airwaves and find you and ring on your end. And
mm,
that's what the biofeedback does. So I can leave the biofeedback running whilst
mhm.
I go out, and it's running through my whole body's frequencies, adjusting, balancing. And so that's what I use. I also want to share that I've been using essential oils, and I'm an essential
Yeah,
oil person.
I you're the one who introduced me to essential oils. I have so many around me and I love them. I
Yeah,
love the smell. It just lights you
do you
up.
know the smell of an essential oil? Is so, the science of it is, there's so much science on what aroma does for people. And because we have the olfactory nerve that goes right into the limbic center of the brain, which is where the emotions are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about this really important topic where, oh yeah, we can diffuse the essential oils. Some people like to have candles.
Yeah.
What I find is that there are aromatics um, that are can cause chemical sensitivity. So if they are not the right formulation or the right um, aroma for your body to restore, right,
Mm,
and connect. And essential oils, what they do is they correct the problem, and they move the junk or the rubbish into our the lymphatic system. So we have to move, we have to dry skin brush,
mm,
have a bath, or some people say they don't have baths, they have showers. No worries, put the essential oil on a face towel or towel,
mm-hmm.
and hot water, and let the shower drop on it, and it will
Mm. Vaporize.
also
Yeah,
that. Yeah. So
yeah.
there are two oil. Actually, I had four, and I thought which one, but I'm looking at the ones that I am using,
Yeah.
and the first one that comes to mind is balance. Right,
Balance.
balance is such a great oil for the nervous system. For my nervous system, I tell you, the nervous system has been the one that has taken the biggest whack,
Mm,
out of all
yeah.
of our body systems.
Right.
And it has affected the minds of many, right?
Under
So
stress, right?
yeah,
People that under
right,
stress, their nervous system.
right,
Yeah.
right. So I balance is one that I put on my wrists. I put it on the soles of my feet, on and it goes up into your, the uptake is very quick. So I use balance for the nervous system and bringing, as it says, balance.
Mm-hmm.
And I use smart and sassy.
Ooh, I
Smart,
don't have that one. Smart and sassy. I
yes,
love the name.
yes, smart and sassy.
You
Yeah,
want
so
to
do
spell
I.
smart and
I want to be
sassy?
smart and sassy today.
Yeah, I love the name.
So
Okay.
it's an active blend, and what it does is
Yeah.
that it's so a scientific level, on a therapeutic level, it helps to address the cholesterols that are not good for the body, that have been produced by the adrenal glands
Mm,
from the fight flight response and all of that, or the freeze response. There's a lot of the adrenal fear, the fear response, the anxiety response,
mm-hmm.
that all leads into emotional stagnation. So this, what I would suggest is putting it on, for dry skin brushing, putting it on a few drops on a dry skin brush, and brushing just before you, um, and brushing to it, from starting from the legs, from the feet towards the
Uh-huh.
heart, arms towards the heart, so all along the lymphatic system,
Ah,
and to release these toxins out of your
okay.
body,
When you say
produce.
dry brush, Rebecca, is this just getting a brush and then pour it on the brush and then going?
Yes, yes. So a dry, they're as they're shower brushes. So
Yes.
you've seen them. They're short, or they have the long
Long
handle for the
one.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I just get the short one, and I put a few drops on that.
Uh-huh.
The I'll tell you what's in there, because these are oils that are so useful. Or maybe that we'll leave that for another time. You can always go to the, ask us later, in the chat, perhaps, what's in the Smart and Sassy blend. But these are oils to balance the body systems as well internally. So we're talking, again, when we're talking to bring this to, to our close, is to say, we're talking about how we can come from the outside back to working with the internal. And this
Mm.
comes to self-care,
Yes.
nurturing.
Number one, self-care. Yeah. Take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this one does it for me. And so you'll notice on the label of this is also, you can take it internally. So a lot of women, us women, we would put a drop in water, and yeah, don't go overboard with it. Just a drop. It's like,
That's a draw. Yeah,
let me fix this problem. Yeah,
yeah, that's
it's
beautiful.
consistency, isn't it? That's the
Yes,
thing.
yes, and because we're so programmed to go outside, right? To go outside for our solutions, but actually the solutions is all within, right?
Hmm.
But when do we get to go within, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the oil helps you, right? So internally by drinking it, or when you
yeah,
said by applying on your skin directly, right? That's all
yeah.
absorbing it internally. Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes,
I
yeah,
love that, and thank you for sharing all those tips that people can do that at home, right? With
yes,
by
yes,
themselves, for sure.
yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca. I mean, you are just full of knowledge, and when we had this conversation, we're like, okay, what should we talk about? Because there's so much topic that we can talk about, right? You mentioned about quantum field. about,
Yeah.
Matthias. I mean, we can talk a whole other, right, about the quantum field and
Yes.
with you know manifesting in the quantum and things like that. So but I was just like, okay, let's talk about emotion, because emotion is a huge part that most people, they don't talk about it, right? And they think, oh, it's
Mm-hmm.
just emotions, they don't deal with it, right? Or even they suppress them, the
Mm-hmm.
emotions. But
Mm-hmm.
and that's what you're saying, is that if we don't deal with those emotions, if we don't release them, they become stagnant. And then what happens is, long over time, then people, that's how people get sick, right? People get
Yeah,
stupid,
and they get broken, that
broken.
feeling of being broken, right,
Mm,
is like, that is where the grief is can, you know be
yeah.
so overwhelming. And
Yes.
there
Yes.
are so many ways now, so many amazing entrepreneurs who do, grief massage, and just
Mm-hmm.
it's about moving it,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes. Yes.
but there is also right timing,
Mm.
right, and
Mm-hmm.
to doing this. And it's not I should, it's nothing is a should, it's always I can. I
Mm.
can, I have choice, I
Mm.
have choice, I have choice to just be still,
Yeah.
I
That.
have choice to breathe. Yeah.
Yeah, and that brings back the power that you were mentioning, the
Mm,
powerlessness, right? So when
yeah.
you think that, oh, you should do this, it feels like you don't have a choice. But when you
Mm,
say that, right, I have a choice, it's like I bring the power back to me, that
yeah.
I can
Yeah.
decide, right? I
Yeah.
can.
And do we have to take big steps? No. Leave that big steps and I've got to be so good at this, all to the background of, when we were children and at school we had to learn everything. No.
Mm,
Today, the way through emotional release is knowing that every little step is
mm-hmm.
a big thing to celebrate.
Yes. Yeah, beautiful. With that, I want to say thank you again, Rebecca.
Thank
Definitely, we're
you.
gonna come back and talk about another topic. So be sure to definitely leave your like social media or websites or things like that in the comment section, so people can get a hold of you if they have any questions about whether you talked about the biofeedback, if they want to learn more about the essential oil, right? I love them, by the way, thanks to you. And yeah, so um, any last words of wisdom?
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you. I will I'll say that I am the intervention between the thinking and the wisdom. And
Mhm.
I find that wisdom is not about age. Wisdom is understanding and accepting the knowledge of your experience.
Mm,
And it is, I'm here on this earth. I have understood and I've accepted that role of being the intervention channel, to say this is my wisdom in seeing the pattern,
mm-hmm.
knowing and observing the pattern of
Mm-hmm.
the other, the
Mm,
other in front of me or the
yeah,
other standing next to me.
yeah, that's beautiful. Wonderfully said. Thank you again, Rebecca, and I'm sure
Thank you.
we're gonna invite you back on, and we'll have another interesting topic next time to talk about. Totally different topic.
Absolutely, anytime. Thank you so much, Amy. I'm really
Yeah,
grateful for this
thank
time.
thank you. Yeah, we always have an amazing time. We can talk forever. So.
Okay,
All
bye
right.
bye.
Thank you. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye bye.